Hi, I'm Mayce.
And I'm Missy.
We're best friends
and business partners. And each week, we're going to bring you a quote that inspires us, and we're going to talk about it.
Join us as we break down our favorite impactful messages for leadership and share how you can apply them to lead with confidence and purpose.
Get ready for a fun and authentic journey into leadership, life, and everything in between. Well, hey, bestie, here we are, another Tuesday, another episode.
Yes, and we are going to talk about another great quote with such a fantastic guest. I am so excited.
Yes, and our guest today is a perfect fit for this quote, and we're going to be talking today about overcoming adversity.
It is such a good topic, so let's talk about it.
Let's dive right in. You know, as I think about adversity, it's one of those things that a lot of people have a hard time with, even talking about it.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to like your attitude about it, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. How you face adversity, right? Your attitude towards it. It really does say a lot about who you are. And really, at the end of the day, leaders need to face adversity with a positive attitude because they're leading the way. I mean, even in a family as a leader, as a parent, you need to model what that looks like when you face adversity and set that stage on how those around you should follow that. How your kids will handle challenges in the future will depend on how you face it.
Yeah, I think there's a song, I think you know it. It's by Chumbawamba. This isn't the name. I don't know the name of the song, but the lyrics say, I get knocked down, but I get up again.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Yes, that's it. I know that's not the name of the song, but it just makes, like, adversity makes me think of that song.
Yeah, it's a song sometimes that can be like on repeat, like a theme song for your life, depending on the season of the life you're in.
Yeah. All right. So before we start singing, without further ado, let's introduce our guest, Teresa Lee. Yay. We're so excited.
Teresa, we're so glad that you are with us today. We're excited for you to talk about our quote that we chose for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate y'all inviting me. Certainly, meeting you a couple of years ago and some interaction that you've had with our company, you've been privy to understanding just some adversity that we've gone through, whether it be business, our industry, personnel. And so certainly this is very much appreciated to be able to talk through where we've grown just since we met a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
so thank you for having me.
Of course. So tell our audience some of your highlights. Tell us who you are.
Yeah, so I'm currently the president for Campana Building Consultants.
That's new, we're so excited about that.
Yeah, so I have been serving as the vice president of sales for the last 8 years, and we took a company that was doing about $3 million to over 70 million just in 6 years, just with the right team, the right people, all moving in the right direction. So it's been a huge growth. I'm excited to take over as the president. I certainly have some challenges ahead, just with how to get to the next steps and continue to help us grow, but knowing that there is adversity, knowing that there's things that we cannot control. And so we'll be talking about some of that. So I'm excited to share that with you. The company as a whole, so our mantra is we're the most efficient metal building processing center in the industry. And that means that we're not a manufacturer. We sell to a general network or private label account, and we basically act as a service center in the background. So we've done that very successfully. We have an amazing team with a lot of experience. And so, again, I'm excited just to share how my leadership has brought some changes into the company to help it grow and then really to take it to the next level. So again, thank you.
Yeah.
We are really so thrilled to have Teresa with us today. And listeners, she is not just one of our clients. She really is a friend and an amazing leader.
Yeah, and we have so much respect for you, Teresa. You've overcome a lot to get to where you are professionally and personally, and that's why the quote is perfect for you. So, Missy, what's the quote this week?
Okay, here it is. You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. Ladies, that was said by Maya Angelou.
It's so good. It's such a good one.
It is. All right, so let's get right into it. Teresa, what immediately comes to mind when you hear that quote?
So you've already spoke to this a little bit, but it's natural that we're going to encounter defeats, but really how you approach those with your attitude, with understanding what caused the defeat, with recognizing that it's not something that can get you down. That's really the key to overcoming it. So just looking at it as maybe a setback, but not really something that's going to give you an opportunity to grow.
Yeah. I heard a quote once. Tim Story said it on a podcast years ago, and it always stuck with me, is that setbacks are setups for comebacks.
I love that quote.
That is I just think like everybody has defeat in their lifetime, right? So just letting you in on a little secret, it's coming. So if you look at that defeat or the setback as a set up for a comeback, like, it just like sets it up so perfectly.
It's a flip the switch moment in your mind, right? And I think you have to think about the fact that every biography, every autobiography, it has the same outline. It's dream, struggle, success.
Yes.
Dream, struggle, success. I mean, even if the three of us wrote ours, it would be the same. No one wants to read a book that's all about successes. Right. Like that's not reality.
Yeah.
Everyone experiences defeat. It's just a given.
Yeah. And as the quote reminds us, right? Like you can't be defeated by your defeats. What were you going to say, Teresa?
Yeah. I think, one of the big things that I'm really coaching going into, or as we looked with the team and the growth, is really success with intention. So when you have a setback, you have to be intentional about what you're going to do to get beyond whatever that perceived setback is. So it's really making sure that you're intentional with how you approach a situation, with your attitude. You have to really just say, I'm going to not let this beat me.
Yeah. Intentionality is one of our favorite words. So, okay. So one of the things that I would love to know, or that we would love to know, is when you're struggling as the leader, right? Even if it's just personally, how do you not let that struggle interfere with the way that you're leading the team? Like you don't want to be a Debbie Downer, right? You don't want to bring your whole team down, but the reality is as leaders, we do go through rough patches sometimes. So how do you keep yourself in check enough to not let your struggle affect the team?
It's a good one. Good question.
Yeah. And it's not something that always comes naturally for people. Right. I've been blessed to have some coaching and some good leaders that have helped me. But really, what you have to recognize as a leader is your team is going to be a direct reflection of your own attitude.
Yeah.
And some of it is it's okay to recognize when you're in the midst of a challenge. It's okay to recognize that, but how you recognize it with the team, saying that, hey, listen, this is a challenge. I need your help. Here's where we have had some struggles. You can't just act like it didn't happen, and you can't ignore it. But you also can't bring it into your day either, because people are relying on you to be the anchor. They're relying on you to keep things, I should say the anchor, but really the steering wheel. They want you to keep things going in the right direction. But people don't expect a leader to always be up.
Right.
They do expect a leader to always lead. And when there is conflict and when there are challenging things that happen, you have to be very, again, I go back to intentional, but you have to be intentional about recognizing that there is a problem, but also allowing the team to be a part of the solution. And I know we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but I know, one of the things that I really sometimes struggle with is, as a leader, you just want to take it on and take it on and take it on and take it on.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get to a certain point where you're like, man, it gets heavy.
It does
so
get heavy.
You do have to really recognize at that point on, what is it that's getting me down and how does it keep me from leading?
Those are good questions.
So there's two things that that you had said. One, it's that vulnerability piece, right? That we love.
So important.
Leaders have to be vulnerable and let their people know. But if we tweeted, which we don't, which I don't even think it's called Twitter anymore. I think it's X. I don't even know what you say. Like, I'm posting on X or I'm going to X you out. I don't know.
I don't know either.
But what you said was a tweetable. If we tweeted, you said, your people don't expect you to be perfect, right? I'm paraphrasing, but they expect the leader to lead. And yes. I loved that. People expect leaders to lead. I mean, it's almost like a duh thing that you said. It's so true, right? People want their leaders to lead them. That's why you're the leader.
And especially through those tough times, the storms when things aren't right. Okay, so I guess we can flip the script a little and ask, how do you encourage your team then to overcome setbacks without losing motivation, Teresa?
Good one.
So, again, if you recognize what they are, most of the time, it doesn't take the leader to recognize when there's a setback. Everybody knows what it is. So you have to come in to the team and say, okay, this is what we recognize. How do we make sure that we address it? Or what are your ideas? If we could keep ourselves from getting back to that place of frustration or disappointment, or we failed, what are your ideas to make it better? What would we do different? And sometimes it is some of the most basic things that the people that are on the ground, with the ideas that say, man, if I just had this, or if I had just been trained, I could have responded better. Or if I just had a little bit better relationship with the customer, I could respond better. So some of it is just recognizing as a leader is where are those weaknesses that you might have in your staff and your team, so that they can overcome the struggles, sometimes even without you getting involved. Because a lot of times when those things get escalated all the way up to a senior leader, you could have de-escalated it further down the line, and the person that de-escalated it felt more empowered and more successful. Really, and they learn to overcome their own kind of conflict without always waiting for the person 2 or 3 layers up to handle it. So it's a lot about, trust, empowerment, coaching, recognizing it's okay to fail. One of my big sayings is you're not going to learn if you don't fail. And so really engaging the team to also understand when there's a problem, and don't just expect somebody else to handle it, or don't expect somebody else to have the relationship. Learn, empower them. But you have to coach them. It's not a natural thing for a lot of people.
For most people, right.
One thing I heard you say, Teresa, at the very beginning when you started answering that question, you were like, you got to get it out there. And another, transparency.
Yes.
Like not having the pink elephant, that's what I call it. It's probably not exactly right, but not having the elephant in the room that there's an issue that we've got to overcome. Being transparent about it allows the team, like you just said, to have those conversations to move forward. So you're just using great words. We've had transparency, we've had vulnerability,
empowerment, trust.
Right.
And I will say,
and y'all did not write this, I promise.
No, and I will say, as an aside, it's not surprising that your elephant is pink in all this.
Exactly. That's right.
Okay, let me ask you this, Teresa. Can you share a time in your career or in your life, personal life, professional, whatever you feel like sharing, that you personally had a significant defeat? And then when you're in that, how do you find the strength to move forward through it? Missy, did you know that there's a study out there that shows that only 8% of people actually achieve their goals?
Only 8%? Macy, that seems like such a small number.
I know, but I guess for most people, life just gets in the way, right? I mean, whether it's unclear priorities or a lack of planning, or maybe they just feel overwhelmed by not knowing where to start. But we're here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way.
That's right. We want our listeners to be part of that 8%, and that's why we created our Goal Crushing Workshop. This isn't about setting goals that you'll forget in a month. It's about learning how to break them down, build momentum, and create a strategy that works.
In our workshop, we're going to show you how to eliminate roadblocks keeping you stuck and turn your big dreams into achievable steps using our goal-getting system. So whether it's a personal growth, career goal, or leadership development, This workshop is going to give you the tools to success.
Yes, it's not just about hitting the finish line. It's about building confidence, gaining clarity, and having consistency along the way. Because you don't just need motivation, you need a system.
Yes. So don't let another minute pass you by without real progress. Join us for a goal-crushing workshop and take control of your future. You can sign up now at impactfulmessages.com/goal-crushing. Enter the code Let's Talk About It at checkout for a big savings. That's Let's Talk About It, all one word, no apostrophe.
You've got dreams to live out, and we want to help you do just that.
So this one is a little tough, just from keeping emotions in check, but I think we need to be real.
Yeah.
This last year was one of the hardest years of my life.
Yeah.
I lost my father. I had a lot of stuff going on with work. We had some things that were happening that we could not control. So, a lot of that weighed heavily on me from a standpoint of trying to take care of the team, trying to make sure our customers were taken care of. And really, I let a lot of things just really bottle up. And I let frustration get to the point of where it caused a significant health issue for me. I actually had a stress-induced heart attack this year. So you talk about a setback.
Yes.
You think you've got it under control. I've read the books. I've gone to the training. I've got coaching, right? And I just let it keep weighing and weighing and weighing. And then my body said enough. And the day before the day I had the heart attack, I was supposed to go to our home office the following day and run some significant business meetings. I was also preparing to go on a 30-day bucket list vacation, which was a stress in itself with everything going on in the business. And my body just said, that's enough. You need it. You got to stop. And I'm very, very blessed. It was a very minor heart attack. It was a huge wake-up call.
Praise the Lord that you are on the other side of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I think like a lot of people, particularly if you're a leader and you're constantly trying to be the one that's up, sometimes it's okay to slow down. And so for me,
you have to.
So for me, that was a huge, what I would say, a setback, because I felt like everybody was counting on me to be the rock, to be the one that was there, to be the one with the happy face, to the one handling the problems. And then I couldn't. And so I think really at that point, telling the team, listen, I've had a setback. I need your help.
Yeah.
When you can be, sorry.
It's okay.
When you can be raw and real with the people that you trust in a business, that is when you know that you've gained true leadership, because this team stepped in and covered for me without a beat. Yeah. I took 30 days off. I did a reset on my attitude, on my health, on a lot of different things. And the team never missed a beat.
Yeah. And that is such a true testament of the leader that you are, Teresa, is that you have built trust. You have empowered them. You have given them all the tools that they needed to step in. Like, it's not a surprise to Missy nor I that you would say that, right? There are other leaders that would say, I had to take 30 days off because my health and the whole company fell apart. But when you're a strong leader and you're doing all the things, all the years that you're supposed to do, trust people, connect with people, encourage them, coach them, empower. You said all the words that of course they're going to step up for you. That's like not at all surprising to either one of us.
No.
Well, and I think is a true testament to, again, we're talking a little bit about conflict and when you get in times of defeat, but a lot of times I think that's when true character shows up. That's when the character of your people, that's when the character of your friends, your family, that's when character really shows up.
Yeah.
And so, when we're talking about defeat, I think it's so important to just make sure that key things like character, attitude, coaching, reliability. I mean, you really trust people, because again, for me, that was I felt like that was a huge hurdle setback for me personally. And at the time, professionally, because we were going through a major issue at the company at the time. And again, just to have a group of people who said, it's okay, go take a break. We got you.
We got this.
Well,
You know, we
Teresa,
got it.
right when you got on, before we pressed record, I was going on and on about how great you look, and you do, and it's palpable that you've been through something, and you had a setback, and you've overcome it. And I think for our listeners, they are probably very appreciative of your vulnerability right now.
Absolutely.
Because Macy and I have worked with organization after organization where we go in and we know people are about to face a setback with their health, with relationships, right? Because they're just drowning at work. They're not being the leader that they could be. They're not empowering people. And I don't think, and Macy, you can, I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say this, there's very few things that we hear that make us happier after a training is that you saved my marriage. You saved my life. I've lost 30 pounds and I'm working out and I'm
off my medication.
Off my medication.
Yeah.
Those type of things are some of the things we treasure most about going into organizations. And sister, you are shining.
Yeah. So, and I would say though, Teresa, I think what you shared, for our listeners is such a good point that if you don't slow down, if you don't take that break, your body is going to tell you, hey, bro, sis, you need a break. Yeah. Like if we don't do it intentionally ourselves, our body is going to do it for us. So unfortunately, your body did tell you, but I know you. I believe that you had the wake up call and you'll never be in that position again. Like, when to take a break and enough is enough. And obviously your team stepped up and you've got great people on your team. We've met them. We know them.
They're a great team.
They're there for you because of the type of leader that you are.
Because you're a leader who connects. Okay, so let's switch gears just a little bit because we know, Teresa, throughout your career, you've had great success.
Yes.
So how do you see your failures or setbacks contributing to that long-term success you've had?
Again, I would say a lot of it is about attitude, and I contribute that to my mother quite a bit because my mom was a hard worker. She always believed that there was nothing that was too big that she couldn't at least try to do. Yeah. And so, when you run into these things that are hurdles or, I thought going to college that I was going to teach and coach until I got out of it and realized I couldn't make a living. I mean, what do you do with a sports management degree, And so, there's some different things that when you talk about hurdles, I go from I'm going to teach and coach to president of a metal building company. Who does that? Right. So, but all of that came through. It's not always been easy. I'm a female in a man's world. That hasn't always been easy. But again, it's about how you respect other people. You identify when there is an issue and you control what you can control. Because if you try to do things that are outside the scope of the boundary of things that you can't control, that's when you put yourself in a position to experience a setback. So make sure that you set yourself up for success, howbeit with experience, training, coaching, just anything that you can do, you have a better chance of avoiding setbacks if you really control the atmosphere of what you can do. Does that make sense?
That's good.
It does. And I want to hear both of your perspectives on this one. Why do you think so many people struggle with getting back up once they're defeated, right? Some people are really great at it. Like they see that setback, they know that it's a setup for a comeback. And other people, it's almost like they they're just wallowing in that mindset. Like, so how do you think, why do you think people struggle and how can we help them shift that mindset? Missy, do you want to go first? And then
Sure,
Teresa,
I will. I think that honestly, so often they let it define them. It isn't an event that has happened. It is who they now are.
Oh, yeah.
And they sit in that and they believe it to be their reality.
Right.
And so once you've taken on an identity like that and you've taken something in, it's hard to move forward because now it's who you are. It's not just what happened to you. It's who you are rather than separating the two, learning the lessons, and moving forward.
Right. It's almost like that martyr mindset, right? Like, this is now who I am. I'm the person who XYZ, right? We see that often, I think, with people who are in grief.
Oh, yeah, for
right.
sure.
Like they sometimes take ownership of that grief. That's why I was saying earlier with Teresa, like, it's not something you get over. It's something you have to work through. Right. You don't get over feeling this, or you don't get over necessarily the setback, but you work your way through it. Teresa, anything you want to add? Like, why do you think people struggle with defeat and like changing their mind about it?
No, I just, one of the things that I've really tried to recognize here with the current team I'm working with is people do work through setbacks differently.
Yes.
And they have different experiences that define how you work through those setbacks.
Yeah.
And it may be that somebody just needs a moment, right, to understand what it is. And they have to have that time to absorb, understand. But then you have to coach them how to get past it, because if you don't, like Missy said, they will wallow in it.
Yeah.
But you cannot take the same approach with somebody who's an internalist, somebody who thinks the world is going to end tomorrow, and then somebody who thinks that there's no problems anywhere at any time. The world's a free world. And you can't, as a leader, address setbacks with each one of those people the same way. If you do, then they're just going to not feel like you can appreciate where they're at. So understanding your people, understanding what setbacks they've had, or what are some things that have defined them, but then also asking them what makes you successful. I recently asked the team
that
I work
question.
with. Yeah, I asked the team recently. I said, help me understand what makes you feel successful.
That is such a great question. I'm writing it down.
Yeah. and I got some very good feedback, and what I think is going to make somebody feel successful, and what they think is going to make things successful, we're not aligned. So that's, that would be the one of the things that I would just tell leaders. If you're working with a new team, or you're working with a challenge team, and it always seems like you're dealing with setbacks, not only ask them what makes them feel successful, but what makes them feel valued, and when do they feel like they've had a victory.
And I would tell you, Teresa, I think that this is what makes you such an amazing leader, is your ability to connect with your people. Because what you just said about everybody deals with things differently, like even with Missy and I, right? Best friends, let's just say we have something going on in our lives. I need to shut down and like process. And Missy is a much more, I want to talk it outer, right? Yep. Like, I need to talk it out, but we both respect that we process things differently. So she'll say to me in instances like, I know you need to like process it and think about it. I'm here if you need me. I'm not going to ask about it. If you want me to ask about it, I will. If you want to talk about it, know that I'm here. Whereas Missy, I would say, okay, what do you want to talk about? Like, how can we talk through this? So I just think the fact that you even recognize and have that awareness that everyone on your team may process a setback differently, but asking them almost like, how can I help you through this? Do you want to talk about it? Do you want me to leave you alone? Like, you tell me how I could best serve you. That's what makes you extraordinary. I mean, I truly believe that that's just what makes you such an incredible leader.
Yes, you are phenomenal, and it all comes down to how you connect. I love that. And Mayce, just speaking of how we handle things differently, it's very hard on me how you handle things differently.
Yes.
Like when I have to be hands off when she's dealing with something and not like bug her, like, are you okay? Let's talk about it. It's really hard. So
it's funny because just recently you said, I just need to talk about this. I know it's not a problem, but I just want to talk about it so I could kind of get it out of my head and clear it up.
Yeah,
so,
I did.
I mean,
isn't it like talking to your spouse? I just need to talk about this, but please don't solve it.
Yeah. Sometimes I say to my husband, can you please solve this? I don't want to think about it anymore.
All right. Well, so as we wrap up, I'm going to kind of flip the script with a question. And Teresa, what role do you think, and you actually just mentioned victories, what role do you think celebrating victories along the way plays in helping leaders and team members in general overcome adversity or feel less defeated when things get tough?
So that's a very loaded question, but
there's a lot there. Sorry.
Yeah, so I've got to unpack that one a little bit. No, again, part of when you talk about victories are different for different people.
Yeah.
July the 30th, my victory was getting out of bed.
Oh, yes.
My victory today was getting to do this podcast with you guys. So victories come in different ways, different levels for different people. Understanding what is somebody's victory, whether it be personally, work-wise, spiritually, different people have different victories that they celebrate. So, it's hard to say, yes, how do I celebrate all these victories? But again, recognizing that there's different victories for different people. It may be that I didn't have a drink for 30 days, or that I just lost 10 pounds, or that I just learned Spanish so that I can better communicate with my customers. Like, there's so many different kinds of victories. So as a leader, you have to recognize and again, find out with a team, because in a lot of cases, a team has a unique personality based on what they do in an organization.
Sure.
The team's victories for a technical team are going to be completely different than the victories for a sales team. And what are those? And how do we make sure that we're celebrating, whether it be a day, a week, a customer, a shipment? What is it? So identifying those victories, and then figuring out how they want to celebrate them.
Yeah.
And again, it can be on an individual basis, but not everybody wants to share. Okay, this is my personal goal is to lose 10 pounds. Not everybody wants to talk about that.
Right.
So some of it is just figuring out what the victories are, helping them celebrate in a way that is celebratory to them. Mm-hmm. Not everybody wants a balloon or a pat on the back or a attaboy,
attagirl. Yeah.
It just, some of it just depends on what those victories are, and how to make sure though that at an individual level, you've made somebody feel like they're a contributor. Again, that they're intentional, that they can overcome whatever problem that they have, and they have your support based on whatever setback we come to, because you're going to have them. They are part of personal work, spiritual. There are setbacks.
Absolutely.
So recognizing them, and then just putting out a platform to celebrate and then work through any setbacks.
Yeah.
So good.
What's one thing our listeners, as they're listening, maybe one question that they could ask themselves to help them if they're feeling defeated? Do you have any recommendations if someone's listening and they're like, well, I don't really know what to do when I'm feeling defeated? I sometimes raise my hands in the air and just say, forget it, I'm feeling defeated today. What might be a question they could ask themselves?
So I think the biggest question that I ask myself is, what can I control? Right?
Mayce, you love that question.
Yes. I always say, you can't control the uncontrollable, but I will say sometimes I forget to ask myself, can I control this? Usually the answer is no. I get defeated based on things I can't control, but that is such a great question. Yep. Such a great question.
And I think, for me, it's your attitude, it's your effort, it's how you communicate. Those are all key things that if you're in the midst of it and you feel like there's no way out, you have to get back to the basics of just identifying what is the setback and what do I have the ability to control. I can't control maybe the setback itself, but I can control how I respond to it. And so making sure that you're putting yourself out there to be able to do that is important.
Well, you are amazing. You know how much we love you. We're so thrilled to be a part of your ongoing leadership journey and, have a front row seat to continue to watch you shine. It just brings us such joy. So we're so happy that you're here with us. So thank you.
Happy that you're here and healthy and things are going great. And you're on the other side of that setback and you're getting set up for some great things. So today, if you only take one thing from today's episode, let it be this. When facing setbacks, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the big picture or even paralyzed by what went wrong. But instead, shift your energy toward one actionable item that you can take right now to regain some momentum.
Love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this week, reflect on your defeats and see how you've grown from them. Perhaps identify one setback you're facing now and use our transformation equation to help you overcome it.
And maybe it's taking a lead from Teresa and asking yourself, what is it in this setback that I can control? And for the listeners, we have got a special gift today. It's a worksheet using our transformation equation to help you put some action behind what it is that you want to do. And you will find the link in our show notes, or you could email us at connect@mpactfulmessages.com and we'll send you the link for the transformation equation.
That's right. And if you love this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review, share it with your friends, your coworkers, and all of the leaders in your life.
So, Teresa, if our listeners want to stay connected with you, if there's anything else that you are up to, how can they find you?
So I am on LinkedIn. If you look for Campana Building Consultants. So I'm on LinkedIn. And again, look under Teresa Lee, and I would be happy to connect. You can also reach out to Missy or Mayce as well. They know how to reach me.
Yes, and we're going to put it in the show notes too. Yeah, so great. That they'll be able to find you.
If you've got any other questions or just want to talk through a particular challenge, I'm here to listen. I'm not necessarily going to solve, but I can certainly listen and just help you get through some basics of how to really work through any kind of setbacks.
You're the best.
And she means that.
I know it. I know it.
Okay, so Teresa, as we wrap up today, what is your favorite leadership quote?
So mine is pretty basic. And this is something that I say nonstop. Learn something new every day.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah. So that's my running joke with the team is once they've learned something new, they can go home.
I love it so much.
But no, learn something new.
We're going to ask our listeners, do you have a favorite leadership quote? Let us know that too, and we may spotlight it on a future episode.
And we'll be back next week with another quote and more leadership insights. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to talk about it. All right. Bye, bestie.
Teresa.
Bye,
Thank
Teresa.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this show, please show us some love by clicking the 3 dots to download the podcast, leave us a 5-star rating on your podcast app, and talk about it with other leaders to help them find the show from any of the major podcast apps. We'd love for you to follow us on social media too. Mpactful with an M _ messages on Instagram and Mpactful Messages on LinkedIn.